Supplementary NB1, New Business 1. It's moved and seconded. And could I get any comments, questions? Yes? Oh, and
I'm just
also
noticing, Staff Sergeant.
yes, and also to have the RCMP report brought forward. What's the wish of the committee? How far in advance should we do that? After the approval of the minutes?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So it's duly noted that RCMP item that will come R1-1 would come after the approval of the minutes. Okay. So everybody agrees to that?
Yes.
Call the question. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Okay. The next item of business is going to be dealing. We're going to do it after, not before. We're going to just deal with these minutes because that's what I noted. We've got adoption of the committee of the whole minutes of March 14th. Could I get are there any errors, omissions, and could I get a motion to approve that? And I can't remember if it was in the committee of the whole meeting or it was the regular council meeting. I think it was more the regular council meeting. There was a reference to a presentation, and it had to do with the salmon capital of Canada. It should be smoked salmon capital. Yeah, and I think that was in the regular council meeting. But could I get a motion then to approve the committee of the whole minutes?
Sorry.
Moved second. Okay, all those in favor? Opposed? Carried. The March 14th regular council meeting. And I think that's where it was noted. Could staff help me on that one?
Mr. Chair, that was actually during a public delegation.
Right.
So that wouldn't have been noted per se, yeah.
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure that it was noted that
Okay.
what's in the minutes was incorrect and it was stated by the individual because.
Or pardon me, actually that would have been in the public commentary period.
Yeah, that's, yeah, okay. So
It's page 6 of the agenda.
Page 6. Okay, very good. All right, so has everybody agreed to that one?
So moved.
It's been moved, seconded. Any other errors or omissions? Call the question. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Next item is the special council meeting of March 21st. Could I get a motion to approve those minutes? It's moved and seconded. Any discussion? I'll call the question. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. I'm going to ask for a motion to receive the draft. I'm assuming they're draft or they're the Souk Fire Commission minutes for information, and that's from March 8th, March 9th, March 10th, March 15th, March 17th, and March 17th. So there's 6 separate meetings. Could I get a motion to approve those? To receive? Any questions or comments? All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Okay, now we're going to have our portion. Sorry, climate action. I missed that one. March 17th was the Climate Action Change Action Committee. And could I get a motion to receive those minutes for information purposes? So moved. It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Okay, thank you for your patience on that. Now, could we have our staff with RCMP to come up, and thank you very much. I know you were a little under the weather last time when we had your report, and feel free to start. Thanks you very much.
Thanks, Acting Mayor Casper and councillors. Sorry for the lateness of this, and I'll just go over the statistics for what we call quarter 3, would be quarter 4 for you, but that's our end of 2015. No surprises in it, I don't think. We were up pretty much across the board in several areas of crime in Souk. The overall file load was just up marginally. Founded general occurrences up 7%. And violent crime against persons, the only kind of violent crime there is. I don't know if it's reported like that, but 22.79% increase. Property crime surprisingly remained about the same, 2015 to 2014. And drug offenses down marginally, other criminal code offenses up almost 40%, traffic offenses up 67%, and total criminal code load up just 9%. And I have a breakdown of persons violent crime. Most of it's not significant, except for assaults, which we're trying to figure out. Assaults are up about 51%. I don't have no explanation for it. We're trying to sort that out and drive that back down to where it should be. As for property crime, auto theft this year increased 50%. Bike theft in the last quarter, that is, from 2014 was down 51%. Break-and enters to businesses were marginally up, and break-and enters to residences were down 26%. Frauds were significantly down, and theft from motor vehicles up 11.2%, although that continued through into January, as you know, and was a cause of concern for the community and the detachment. On that same note, we've been busy dealing with groups stealing from autos and doing other kinds of property crime. For 2016, theft from motor vehicle summary, almost all of these reported thefts occurred weekday overnights with, for some reason, 50% of them occurring on Wednesdays between the hours of midnight and 8 a.m. 79% of all thefts occurred on unlocked vehicles. 21% involved a window smash, and in 3 of those occurrences there was a targeted item in plain view, a purse, a computer, or a Galaxy phone, and another one. We did make an arrest of significance which curtailed a lot of that, and then another significant arrest this past weekend, and those weren't the only 2. And I'm happy to say within the last month that spike that we've been experiencing in theft from motor vehicles and just random thefts from properties has completely dropped down back below normal levels. Comparing 2015 to 2014, the overall file load, we were up 20%. If you're interested in tracking the numbers back from 2016, every year it was, for the quarter that is, the first quarter up to today, first part of the first quarter, we're at 1,464 files right now. For 2015, the same period, 1,219, and 2014 was 1,147. So we're up. Our file load is up significantly for this portion of the first quarter of 2016. I don't have much to report other than that. Our members have been busy, including over the weekend, involved in the search for the 2 boaters that we now classify as missing off the coast of Port Renfrew. One personnel change to report is that Corporal Bayless, who's been here for about 3 years, has been promoted to sergeant, and he'll be transferring to Penticton as soon as he can sell his house. So that's about all I have, and I was anticipating there might be a few questions.
Okay, very good. Questions to council? Councillor Berger?
Yes, thank you. Mine's more of a comment. I noticed on, I want to say it's Twitter, but I'm not, you can correct me if I'm wrong, that you had put out a statement stating that lots of these thefts were happening from unlocked vehicles, and just to remind public to lock their cars. And I thought that was really handy because I had quite a few people mention that there was a bit of a social media frenzy around cars being broken into and such. And to have that post come out sort of reminded people that maybe we should lock our cars. So I appreciate you getting that out there on social media.
Good, thanks very much. And we are, I think I stated this last time I was here, that we'd be up and active on Twitter. We do have our Twitter account up, but we haven't been really posting much, and we do have a Facebook site just being constructed. So hopefully by the end of the month, almost here, but a couple weeks into next month, we'll be more active on those sites.
Any other questions, council members? Councillor Pearson.
Yep. Thank you again for your report, Staff Sergeant. There was a couple of questions that I had, and then maybe they're just general. I see that the Mental Health Act seems to be jumping up significantly again. Any sort of anecdotal comments to that? Is that downloading from the province? I guess is my question. I mean, we've asked that, in the past, and I'm going to continue to ask it just to make sure that it gets on the record.
Yeah, I don't think that anyone would argue the changes in the way that we treat people with mental issues is probably the reason that it lands in the laps of the police quite often. But yet it remains a significant drain on our manpower because we have to drive people into the Jubilee, and then they have to be medically cleared before they actually get an assessment as to whether they're going to be kept or not. And quite often those visits are up to 8 hours. So if we only have 2 people working a day, we're down one person. We're scrambling to find somebody, or someone who's supposed to be doing the administration and that whatnot is out answering calls. So. And we are involved in a committee that's trying to get that time down. So I don't know if that answers your question. But
yeah, that was my next question, is to say, what feedback are the local detachments? Are you guys banding together in a committee like format to try and alleviate that? Because I know you've talked about it, that resource drain in past, and it's, again, I would like to know, is there anything we can do as council, to support that committee? I guess is probably my question.
That's. I'll give some thought to that. There might be something that you could do to help us out. It is all the police departments, and they do report occasionally to the area chiefs, which I sit on. And I've also been to the committee meetings at the Royal Jubilee Hospital. It's very well headed up by members of the Victoria Police Department, and we're keeping track. Everyone's keeping track of their wait times and the reason for it, and we're reporting back to a council which is composed of police officers, members of VHA, and members of the Royal Jubilee Hospital and Victoria General, where we take young persons with mental problems.
Okay.
So.
Yeah, good work, and again, thank you for the work that you do, not only on this committee, but with the other things that you're doing in the community as well. So,
thanks
thank
very
you
much.
very much.
Thank you.
Yes, Councillor Ray.
Thank you, and again, thank you for the report. And I think today we saw some really positive responses to the post that came out on Facebook. So I think with the development of your Facebook page, the social media is definitely where things are going, and I think there'll be a lot of support from the community in supporting the police and looking for the vehicle like it was today. So, yes, well done.
Good. Thank you very much.
So, any other questions? So, I just have a comment for you. I just want to thank you very much for your work and the detachment's work. Some good news from our side towards you. We've done a lot of our budget consultation, our process, and so we're looking forward to that additional police officer towards the fall of this year. We've allocated money for that. Also, to let you know that we've increased funds on an annual basis in our 5-year reserve fund plan to offset. It's called Reserve for Future Policing Costs, so that at the end of 5 years, we'll have approximately $276,000. So that will give the municipality additional flexibility to deal with additional policing costs that are totally outside of our control. So we are working towards dealing with better policing issues, and we look forward to that additional officer coming on stream. And I hope that you don't have a problem finding a replacement for the individual who will soon be leaving. And I don't know when that's actually going to happen, but I hope we don't have a problem there, and I'm sure you understand that.
Yeah, thanks very much for your comments. And we're looking at a very well qualified lateral transfer from on the island to replace Corporal Bayless, so I think it'll almost be seamless. And I think I've mentioned this before, that we're very fortunate now to be one of the top staffing priorities for the island. So while other detachments with less of a load will run with vacancies, we are the priority to keep up to our 15 or 16 as it happens in the fall. The other thing I'll mention to that, and I don't know if you remember, but my intention is, and I'm willing to take your feedback or answer questions, is to make the position a sergeant. So then we would have a staff sergeant, a sergeant, and 2 corporals. So more supervision. I think it will result in better quality service, better quality, more timely investigations. There's a lot of upside to it. We're a little bit light on the supervision. I don't think that anything is lacking right now necessarily, but it could be done better. There's no increase in salary dollars. The cost is exactly the same. And I do believe I took a question or two from council. I don't know if it was in a formal setting or not, but it's not the first time I put it out there.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you very much. Could I get a motion to receive Staff Sergeant MacArthur's monthly report? Any further question, discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you very much.
Good. Thank you.
That brings us to the next portion of the meeting, which is the public question and comment period. We have 10 minutes in total and 2 minutes time limit per person. So is there anyone who wants to speak towards or on any item of the agenda as outlined? Thank you. Could I get your name and address?
Can we go ahead even though it's not in order?
Well, I just have a question just of staff. Normally an applicant has an opportunity to speak to their particular application, correct? You know, that's how we've done it. No, I'm just saying that that's how we've done it in the past. So if there's an applicant here, usually there's a question of staff and a question of applicants, because council will want to hear from them regarding their application. But this is an opportunity for a member of the general public who wants to speak to any of these specific items that are on the agenda. Feel free. Is there anybody? Ellen, go ahead. Could I get your name? And even though I've said it, Ellen, I have to do it. I have to do it for the record.
Okay. For the record,
Yes.
Ellen Lures, 5526 Souk Road.
Okay, you've got 2 minutes.
2 minutes.
I tried to get it to 3, but things got held up.
Well, we're going to move it around a little bit. Maybe. Anyway, on page 3 of your EPCOR, an E, it says, Mayor and Council directed staff to schedule a committee of the whole meeting to discuss the matter further and to allow for public input. There's no record of said committee of the whole meeting. So what is that? Did it not happen?
Well, I don't want to take up your
Okay.
valuable time on that, but
Okay.
it will
Anyway,
come
that's a
out during
question.
the discussions
Okay.
from our staff.
And other questions on page 4. With the biosolids, I understand that there's a possibility with the biosolids being mixed with, what's it called, in Victoria when they do their sewer, if they do it. If not, it could be used perhaps in the composting idea. And it says EPCOR labor regular. It has a cost there of $19,000, and then it has nothing under district pursuit. Would it still be managed? Or, because it says 0, it just seems odd. It has to be. So that's a question. And also with the Souk Fire Commission, I know the first Souk Fire Commission meeting was here and it was recorded, but none of these are recorded. And the motions to close to the public, they were all closed to the public as well. And I have a question as well, because there's 2 of the meetings, one started at 1 and ended at 8:15, the other ended at 8, and if that is the correct time, just asking.
Okay.
Okay?
And I'm sure that staff will take note of that, and hopefully staff will get back to you on that.
Thank you.
Okay, very good. Is there anybody else who wishes to address council during this 10-minute period? How much more time do we have? Quite a bit more? Okay. Okay, well, if there's no one forthcoming, then I'll declare that portion of the agenda closed. And then what we'll now move on to is bylaws, bylaw B1. So now if we could have our staff give a report on this. This is bylaw number 633, zoning amendment bylaw 600-23, 7106 Grant Road West. So we have a report and a presentation from our Development Services Department. And is that looks like that's it on the big board right now. So who would speak to this? Okay, Danica? Great, thank you.
This is my second time, so I'm still in learning mode here.
Sure, and if you could maybe speak a little louder. It's just for the public's benefit, because our speakers aren't that great.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Okay, great, thanks.
Okay. Oh, can we go back? Sorry. Anyway, thanks. Can I speak like that? That's all right. Thanks, everyone, for coming. Our first bylaw is a zoning amendment for 7105 Grant Road. Okay, we can switch. The applicant wishes to rezone the property and amend the zoning bylaw from RU4 to R3, so rural residential to, it's rural residential to small lot residential is R3. I'm sorry about the typo there. So you can see on Grant Road, it's the property on the right, and thank you. So within the grand scheme of things, Grant Road at this point in time is an area of mixed residential use and a variety of housing types. There's single-family duplexes, multifamily units, and manufactured homes. The property is about 1.5 kilometers west of the town center area, and it's serviced by transit. Flip, thank you. The subject property is about 1/3 of an acre in size, and at this point it's located outside of the sewer area, but an application has been made, which will follow this presentation, to ask to be put in, and CRD water is at the lot line. The next one. Having a review of the adjacent zonings around the property, you can see that mostly we have RU4, and very close by there is manufactured home park. So the neighborhood provides basically a variety of zonings and different uses. So historically, this area was used for farming and forestry and other agricultural purposes. Recently, the neighborhood has seen very little development. I actually thought, after coming here driving that road for probably 25 years now, that it had changed a lot, but we did a GIS study of the applications that had changed over the last 10 years, and there really wasn't very much. So I think now we're starting to see some change from the transition from farmland to urban development. The next slide is showing some of the densification that is being prescribed by our OCP. So the intent of this map is to illustrate movement towards the infilling along Grant Road, which is obviously to support the sewer system infrastructure connectivity. And so this map also represents the distribution of R3 zonings within a 500-meter radius of the proposed site. So it's kind of interesting because there are the three little circles to the right are R3 properties close to town, but then beyond that there really aren't any. But you'll find that over the next, we have quite a few requests coming in now for this particular zoning, just to let you know. So R3 is small lot residential, our principal use, horticulture, single family dwelling, or one duplex per lot. There's a variety of accessory uses there, and I think it's important to note that the minimum lot size for this is 350 square meters. So it's quite compact. The existing property is located on the south side of Grant Road, has a house, cabin, gardens, established trees, and outbuildings. And generally, the neighborhood has a variety of some dated architecture, some infilling, ranging from the 60s to the 90s. It's relatively affordable. There's rental units. There's post boxes nearby. The bus is there. Anyway, and as I said before, there are a number of applications coming in close to this site for this kind of densification. The OCP supports growth to offset the cost of the existing sewer infrastructure here. From the OCP perspective, it is designated as community residential and within the community growth area, DPA number 2. And the community residential designation looks to have low to medium density residential growth along with some associated and appropriately scaled commercial development. Residential development is targeted towards community growth areas where municipal services can be provided or accessed in an efficient manner. And so these are just some examples of small lot houses that we might see potentially in this area. And then within the DPA number 2, development permit area, we are looking as goals from the OCP to promote a high level of design and creativity for buildings in the community growth areas, integrate innovations for building and site design that promote green and sustainable development, promote excellent pedestrian connectivity throughout the district and within new developments, and also protect development from slope instability. And then these are just some other ideas of things we can do to support those goals. And in summary, we have the legal description, the zoning as I went through, all of this basically, the parcel size. If anyone has any questions.
Okay.
And the final, sorry,
Okay,
getting
go
right
ahead.
through there.
Carry on.
Yep, we'll have development cost charges will be the responsibility of the applicant. And finally, staff would recommend that council introduce and give first and second reading to bylaw 633, zoning amendment 600-23 to rezone the property located at 7105 Grant Road from rural residential to small lot residential, and that council directs staff to schedule a public hearing for bylaw 633 in accordance with the requirements of the Community Charter and the Local Government Act.
Thank you very much. Questions from council, Councillor Pearson, and then Councillor Parkinson next.
Yeah, I have no problem with the development in this area because I think it's time that we filled in. My problem is around the sewer specified area. This is outside the sewer specified area, if I can remember. So why would we put a development ahead of the sewer specified area?
It's kind of a funny, the specified area goes around this particular parcel. So it's surrounded by the sewer. The sewer actually goes to the lot line. So the application has been made to ask to engulf.
Yeah, and I understand it, but the trunk goes down the other side of Grant Road. The trunk line goes down the other side of Grant Road there. So does the developer know that they're going to have to put the sewer line across the road?
We haven't got to that part yet.
Okay. Just because, if we include this in the sewer specified area, then we're saying that we're going to put the sewer line across the road. Is that what I would understand? Mr. Howard?
If council so desires to include it in the sewer specified area, it would be up to the applicant to run sewers across Grant Road into the trunk.
Yeah, just thinking about the money part of it, right? So, okay, just want to make sure that they know what they're getting into. Okay.
Just hold for a sec. We're just going to hear from council first, and then I'll ask for the applicant to speak to it. So we just hold on for a sec. Okay, thank you. So, Councillor Parkinson?
And my questions would be to staff for allowing to come into the sewer specified area, because I have no problems with people hooking up to the sewer. I think that it's great. But I was just wondering how much capacity do we have left in the sewer system to allow people to come online? And how many properties have already paid to come online but have not yet hooked up to it and have not developed yet?
So is it possible for us to just keep our questions to the rezoning application now, and then we are going to be dealing with the sewer aspect after? I know it's mentioned, but there will be some more detail later on in this agenda, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Fair enough?
Okay.
Okay, good. Not trying to cut you off. Okay, any other Councillor Logans.
Thank you for the presentation. I I like this. I'm glad to see there'll be some infilling, hopefully, in that area. One thing that concerns me in general, hearing that there may be several applications coming forward, is that the road is very dangerous there, and I think as council we need to look at prioritizing sidewalks in that area if there's going to be a lot of development going forward.
Councillor Berger?
Yes, thank you. Just one question to staff. In looking at the map, sorry, my map that has the zoning on it, it's quite small and it's blurry when I try and make it larger. But the neighboring property, 7115, it looks like it's a panhandle lot that goes in behind. Just wondering what zone that
Can we back up
one has.
to the zoning one? Keep going, a couple more.
I think I made it out to be RU4, but I'm not sure.
I think it's,
RU4, that's what I thought. Mine didn't have any colors and I couldn't quite see.
yeah.
Okay, thank you.
So are there any other more questions of council in regard to the rezoning? Is the applicant here, and if the applicant wants to speak to this, how about just strictly to the rezoning application, and then we can speak about the sewer aspect later on? Is that fair enough? Okay. Yes.
I give permission to John Roman to speak on my behalf.
Later on, correct? Right now?
Right now would be great.
Okay, just in regard to the rezoning and the bylaw proposed. John, did you want to come forward? You have to come forward, and you got to sit in the chair and give your name and address. That's just the way we have to do it. Thank you.
John Broman, is it on?
There you go.
John Broman, 6697 Manitou Road.
Okay, good.
The boys have decided to go for a rezoning on the property to make more affordable housing for themselves and also for other people. This application right here, Gordy lives on the property in the existing old house, plans on building a new house in the back and continue to rent the old house and carry on with life. Your community plan calls for infilling, and this application fits it to a T. This is what we vision as infilling. I see a lot of infilling in the neighborhood is bigger, more dense. We didn't go for the high density. We like to kind of stay with single family dwellings, and I feel it's a good match into the neighborhood. The history of the property's been in our family for over 50 years. Was my father's property. All the neighbor properties east on Grant Road was my grandfather's property. So all that whole area has been our family for probably 75 years or more. So, it's
Okay, very good. Anybody have any questions, council members of the applicant? Okay, thank you very much, John. Okay, we have some suggested action, and
I'll move the recommended action.
okay, it's been moved and seconded. Any more discussion? Call the question. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. And I'm going to just call for a motion on the next is to direct staff to schedule a public hearing for bylaw 633 in accordance with the requirements of Community Charter and Local Government Act. Moved and seconded. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Okay, thank you very much on that one. And Danica, we have another one.
I do. It's pretty much the flip carbon copy of this one. Can we put there's another. Different pictures.
And that's at 71.
7109 Grant Road. So this is, I'll just go through the other side of this, which, how do I put it? The other side of the concept plan here. So the planning application aims to amend the zoning bylaw to rezone again from RU4 to R3. The owner plans to potentially subdivide the existing property into three 350-meter lots, and each new lot would be required to meet the 350 square meter minimum. Again, the same location as before, just outside of town, serviced. And again, same sewer issue and water accessible. The adjacent zonings are the same. It doesn't usually get this easy, does it? I would like to add that the Bromans have had this property in their family for 75 years. And did they look like that?
That's that one.
Okay, and again, we have the adjacent zonings and land uses, and again, the R3 zoning density. So we'd have 2 in that circle for now. The existing property, located on the south side of Grant Road again, it has gardens and established trees. It's quite open at this point. Same neighborhood. And, sorry. And again, the OCP prescribes the community residential designation, and it's again governed by DPA number 2 as a community growth area. And we also would potentially could have some examples of small lot housing there with some sustainable design and form and character elements that I spoke to last time. Similar kind of summary. And the development cost charges, again, would be covered by the applicant. And so our staff recommendation this time is that council introduce and give first and second reading to bylaw 637, zoning amendment bylaw 600-25, to rezone the property located at 7109 from rural residential RU4 to small lot residential R3, and that council direct staff to schedule a public hearing for bylaw number 633 in accordance with the requirements of the Community Charter and the Local Government Act.
Thank you very much. Any questions from council? Councillor Pearson.
So we say yes to one brother and no to the other? Or? I'll move the recommended action.
Second. It's been moved and seconded. Yes, Councillor Berger.
Yeah, just a question of clarification to staff. Do we, because it says first and second reading, do we have to do them separately, or can we just move the whole recommendation together?
Oh, you can move those at the same time.
Great, thank you.
So I'll call the question. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. So this is the way I like to do it. I would also ask that council direct staff to schedule a public hearing for bylaw number 637 in accordance with the requirements of the Community Charter and the Local Government Act. Could I get a motion to that effect?
Second.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome. Thank you. Okay, the next item is it's the bylaw number 635, the Suitcor Sewer Specified Area Amendment Bylaw 147-26, Suitcor Sewer Specified Area Proposed Boundary Adjustment for 7105 and 7109 Grant Road. And Nikki, I take it you're going to speak to this one?
Yes, I am.
Very good, thank you.
I'm ready for your questions now. So, as you can see, these sort of go hand in hand. They can't get the rezoning without coming into the sewer specified area. And way back when 7044 Maple Park Terrace, which was known as Spiritwood at that time, they installed a new main down Grant Road. And when they did it, they put in connections for all the properties along Grant Road with the thought that people would eventually be able to tie into them. But in order to do so, they have to come and ask council for council's blessing. And that's what these gentlemen would like to do in order to proceed with development. You can see the other properties that have come in. I don't know if this will show, no, it doesn't. Anyways, in 2011, we brought in a few properties and another one in 2012. So it's gradually filling in the sewer specified area in that area. Does that help a little bit, Brenda? A little bit. Okay. Any questions?
Councillor Pearson.
So, yeah, through the chair to you, Ms. Stewart, why would we not just include everything in the sewer specified area along there both ways? Like in one application?
Sorry, every property?
Yes, because it doesn't make sense to me for everybody to come down and apply to be in the sewer specified area. If we're going to expand the sewer specified area and we have a trunk line going along Grant Road, why don't we just clean it up?
I don't have the answer to that question.
Mr. Howard?
I'm not familiar with the past, but the issue of coming into the sewer specified area is applicant driven.
Yeah.
And I can see why the question was posed, and I'll have to research and give you the answer for that, because I'm not sure why we didn't take the area in to begin with. It might have been an issue of capacity or the unknown issue of capacity at the time. I'm not sure, but we can certainly look up the answer and get back to you.
If I recall, there was a discussion when Spiritwood ran the trunk down Grant Road, because there was a number of properties on the high side of the road particularly that had marginal drain fields, et cetera, and I think there was some treatment plant failures, et cetera. I thought there was a general discussion that we were going to include that lower end of Grant Road, what people had access to it, into the sewer specified area. So I was kind of surprised to see today that there's little pieces that aren't when I read my report today. So anyways, it's something for us to consider. I guess that's probably the way I see it. The second question I have is, do the applicants then, because those stubs don't go across Grant Road? Oh, they do? They're already installed, so Spiritwood installed all those?
Chair, through to Council Pearson, my mistake. I forgot that they were there earlier when I suggested that they would be responsible for running them across. Okay. They are there.
Okay. Excellent.
Councillor Berger?
Yes, thank you. I can help a little bit because I was on council when that development came forward for Spiritwood. So the discussion was initially that we were going to extend the boundary to all of Grant Road, to that end that was getting the sewer trunk to their lot line. There were a couple of residents that had just done new drain fields. And so previously, as you're all aware, when we did the sewer specified area, there was an allotted amount of time that each resident had to hook up to the sewer, and there was some cost involved with that. We wanted to follow that same principle and say if we extend it through this area, you have X amount of months to then hook up to the sewer system. There were a number of residents that weren't interested because they had just spent money on new drain fields. So we decided to leave it as a one-off because there was a mix between that end of the road. There were some residents who wanted it, some that didn't, some that weren't interested. So the decision was made when Spiritwood, it might have a new name now, when the Maple Park Terrace applicant went through, that it would just be left as a one-off, but everybody does have it to their lot line.
Any further? Yes, Councillor Parkinson.
So my question is, do we know how much capacity we have left in our sewer system for additional properties to come online?
We have an engineering firm that runs our sewer model, so they maintain they know our whole network of pipes and everything else. So we send an application to them saying what these people want to do, and they report back and say that there's adequate capacity for these potential 3 lots to come on times 2.
Okay.
And it's a technical report that comes back.
Right. And that would include the people like Aranan who have paid to come online but haven't connected, so they have those numbers already in there.
They're aware of our whole system, and
Correct.
People that pre-purchase, like Aranan, pre-purchase capacity, those are all taken care of.
Okay. Thank you.
Councillor Pearson?
And does our sewer generation or sewer bylaw hook up? Is it in place like what we've seen in the past, where it's the number of years times the sewer generation? What's the fee per lot?
$2,800.
It's frozen at $2,800.
When they eventually come to connect, if they decide to subdivide and build structures, when they go to connect, they will come in and they'll pay a $2,800 capital expansion charge.
For each lot created. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I'd just like to add one comment. There's an inherent danger in just blanketly approving a wide specified area because everybody else has been paying into the system, whereas these properties haven't. So that's why there's a fee.
Mm-hmm. That's correct.
Correct?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. We have a recommendation from staff on this, and it's been moved and seconded. Any more discussion? All those in favor, opposed, carried. I'm in favor. Okay, very good. We have.
There's the second part to that.
Yes. I lost my space in the agenda.
85, page 85.
Right. Okay, and the second part is, in further that council introduce and give first reading, second reading, third reading to bylaw number 635, the Suit Course Sewer Specified Area Amendment Bylaw. Could I get a motion to give first reading? It's been moved, seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor? Opposed, carried. It's been moved, seconded for second reading. All those in favor? Opposed, carried. Could I get a motion for third reading? Moved, seconded. All those in favor? Opposed, carried. Okay, thank you very much. We have our next section deals with reports requiring action, and that's RA1 parkland dedication requirements for post subdivision at 6553 and 6561 Helgeson Road. Who's going to speak to that? Okay, Nikki, you again? Great, thank you.
Okay, so as part of a proposed subdivision at 6553 Helgeson Road, the applicant is required to provide park dedication or cash in lieu of park dedication. And in order to meet the goals of our Parks and Trails Master Plan, as well as a rezoning covenant that is registered on the title of the property, a combination of park dedication and cash in lieu of dedication is proposed. I'll give you some pretty pictures. So our Parks and Trails Master Plan provides for some links through the Woodland Creek subdivision and the Churchill Meadows subdivision up to maybe one day Sun River. So the goal is to try to protect those accesses. They may or may not happen in the future, but our goal is to at least have a plan if some time way in the future they do. The Local Government Act requires that the developer provide 5% parkland dedication or cash in lieu as part of the subdivision. We don't see these very often, so it might be a little bit new for you. But in this area, the Parks and Trails Master Plan doesn't have any real strategic park dedication requirements other than to provide these connections that you'll see there in the yellow. So the developer has agreed to provide some important trail linkages, which will lead us through to existing trails and through to the schools. It's Journey and Poirier beside. To do it, basically they would give us cash in lieu for the remaining part of the parkland and give us a statutory right-of-way for future pedestrian access to the Sun River Link, if that was to happen, with the hopes that it'll keep kids and everyone off of our streets and maybe making the trail connections through to school and make it a more walkable, enjoyable community. This gives you a bit of an overview. You can see Poirier Elementary, the proposed subdivision in red, and Journey. And the green dotted lines are our existing trails, which I'm sure everyone has enjoyed at some point. This is the proposed subdivision. The initial one will be 24 lots with 2 areas of park dedication, which will be trails, and then an additional Bearland strata with the goal of having a statutory right-of-way across the common property access, which would provide for one day a link to any potential trail to Sun River. And that's the end of my slideshow. The developer is here if you have any specific questions or questions that I can help answer.
What's the wish of council? Yes, Councillor Ray.
Just if you could just go back to the
I
last
can.
slide. In terms of the right-of-way at the top there,
Yep.
is the piece of property that I would assume is to the west, it looks like it's the end of Helgeson Road?
Yes.
Is that actually a piece of property?
That would be the connection of Helgeson Road. It'll become a partial cul-de-sac at the end there.
Great, thank you very much.
Councillor Pearson?
Okay, just because it's relevant to me now, are we, I see there's an actual price, a value that the calculated value would be, there's a number in our presentation tonight?
That's correct.
Is that based on assessment value?
That's based on the BC assessment value.
Okay, so I would just request that in the presentation that's an accurate value. If we're going to accept land in lieu, that we make sure that we know what we're getting as far as that's just to kind of
yes.
Any further questions? Does the applicant wish to add anything to this?
Blair Robinson? No.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. Could I get
Move the recommended action.
a recommendation? It's been moved and seconded. And any further discussion? Call the question. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you very much. Okay, the next item of business is RA2, and that's a covenant amendment for ALR buffer at 6978 West Coast Road. So,
Acting Mayor Councilor.
Rob Howitt, you're going to be speaking to this,
Yes,
correct?
I am.
Okay,
Thank you.
very good. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, through the councillors. We have I'll just go through the executive summary and just a little bit of a background, and then I'll take questions if there is any. This ALR buffer was secured by way of a restricted covenant when the rezoning went through several years ago. And the applicant is asking that we review the covenant with the hope that it be reduced from 15 meters, and I'll get into the the reduction in a minute. Just a bit of the background. The owners at 6978 West Coast Road would like council to reconsider the agricultural land, or quote, ALR buffer, put in place at the north edge of their property when the property was rezoned in 2010. And then in the package, there was a letter from the applicant's agent, which is quite self-explanatory. The buffer was put in place and was based on input from the Agricultural Land Commission of the day, and was based on their edge planning guide, which was a guide that was produced back in the 1980s. And it made recommendations to local governments with regards to setbacks from active agricultural land. The proposed modification that they would like to see will not oppose any additional cost to the district. The owner will pay for the public hearing fee that will be required because the original covenant was put on during the time of rezoning. The existing buffer within the covenant is 15 meters. It also includes an 8-meter no disturb clause within that 15 meters, so it is quite restrictive. What the applicant's agent is proposing is a 7.5-meter buffer with a chain link fence and an evergreen hedge, and 5.5 meters of lawn area between the ALR land and the usable lots, the usable portion of the lots. The other conditions within the covenant, which were not restrictions, but preferred uses of pesticides or herbicides, etc. The staff is recommending that we work with the applicant to come up with, or the applicant's agent, I should say, with a reasonable solution to the setback that exists now of 15 meters, given the utilization of the agricultural land that is adjacent, and making more usable the land that was rezoned back in 2010, making the land more attractive for somebody buying a lot and trying to build a house on lots that are quite small to begin with. We'd like to look at this from dealing with any kind of land use that we have adjacent to agricultural land as they come on board, and rather than just paint everything with the same setbacks that the Agricultural Land Commission would like us to do, I think, is look at each one individually based on the merits of what's being proposed and what's being utilized in the agricultural land. In this case, I don't think that the reduction of setback is going to cause any harm to the adjacent agricultural land. And from that, I answer any questions that you have.
Yes, Councillor Pearson.
Well,
sorry.
Thank you for your presentation, Mr. Howitt. Through the chair to you. I'm pretty opposed to setbacks of this nature, because if you look at that property in its entirety, there's areas where there's zero setback, there's houses within 2 meters, there's and again, I think the determination of that particular ALR land is marginal at best. I think this covenant was in error putting it on there, and it was the best practices. It was not an actual requirement to put it on there at all. So you're looking for a recommendation from council, is that what you're on?
Yeah, I just wonder if there's any more questions.
Sorry, I'm just kind of.
So is the applicant here? Yes. Did the applicant want to add something? If you do, you'd have to come forward. No, you'd have to come forward if you want to add something, and just give us your name for the record.
My name's Michael Volk.
Yeah, how about sit down and you got to push that button. Okay. Sorry, I got to put you through that, but that's what I got to do.
No problem.
Okay, great. Go ahead.
Yeah, Michael Volk's my name. My address.
Yes.
708 Skyview Place. And so I'm acting for the owners of the property who bought it to develop it in 2010. And simply put, they got kind of taken, they didn't really understand what they were agreeing to when they agreed to these covenants. And then they tried to sell the property because they realized that developing it wasn't going to work. And to make a long story short, they're down about $100,000, and these covenants are the reason why it can't be sold. So frankly, I'd like to see the covenants removed and thrown in the garbage. I think they're just a complete waste of paper. But in the for lack of such a simple solution, I suggest that at bare minimum the setbacks be reduced to what I recommended, which would be a 2-meter hedge, a chain link fence. The chain link fence being in front, because then the light can get through and the hedge can grow, and then all you'll see is a hedge. And then 5 meters of whatever you want. You know, a garden shed is okay, a lawn, a patio to the house. So 7.5 meters altogether. But like I said, I'd be thrilled if it was just removed altogether. Okay.
Any questions to the applicant, Councillor Berger?
Sorry, mine's not the applicant. Mine's just more a comment around Mr. Howitt's comments.
Okay. And
I agree with you. I think, as Councillor Pearson said, we have so many different pocket pieces that have ALR buffers that they really need to be done on a one-by-one basis, and I completely agree with your recommendation.
Okay, great. Any questions of the applicant? Okay, thank you very much for your comments. Okay, what's the wish of the council?
Well, I'd like to make a motion that we direct staff to work with the applicant.
So are you moving the recommendation?
Well, I want to make a change to it.
Okay.
I'd like that we move. I'd like to make a motion. I hear someone's phone. I'd like to make a motion that we direct staff to work with the applicant in potentially reducing or removing these to suitable development around there. I think it's really about buyer beware of people buying up against. Some people buy up against agricultural land for the sheer beauty that no one can build behind them. So I think there's benefits there that people don't see. Thank you. So that was it, my motion.
So,
Mr. Joseph, is that clear? Sorry.
I think he shook his head politely. I don't know if it was yes or no. Is there a seconder to that? Can we just get a clarification from staff, like and no, not to speak negatively about what's being proposed. So, with the recommendation as outlined in the staff report, Would it accomplish the same thing that Councillor Pearson is advocating?
Yes.
Councillor Pearson, do you have comfort with the recommendation that's outlined here?
Yes.
Okay, good.
They begin to work with
Okay.
the applicant. Okay. That we remove the covenant, work with them to remove the covenant.
Or to amend the covenant?
Correct.
Correct?
Second.
Okay. Any more discussion from staff?
As long as I'm clear through to Councillor Pearson, your recommendation was to remove or to reduce?
Reduce.
Remove or reduce.
Remove, okay.
If you choose to remove it, I'm perfectly fine with it. Okay? And my recommendation is I don't believe that this covenant is providing any value to people's.
Well, you know, I'm in a bit of a difficult position. I'm going to have to rule that we can't just have it as open-ended. That
Okay.
It's either one or the other. It's either fish or fowl. It's either to amend the covenant as outlined in the staff report, or it's to remove the covenant.
But there's. Can I just ask one thing? And the reason I left it open-ended, because the applicant made a suggestion that he would put up a chain link fence and a hedge on the edge of the property. I don't think there's any value coming further back from that as long as we meet all of the building code. If they're willing to put into their covenant, building a chain link fence to block the view, then I'm perfectly fine with removing the covenant. But I think that you need that flexibility to say, okay, here's what we're going to do. Hopefully I'm giving staff a good direction there.
Staff?
Thank you. I think I understand now. Thank you.
Okay, very good. Is there any more discussion on this from council? Councillor Berger.
Sorry, just for my own clarification, we're moving the suggested recommendation. Love it. No? Was your intention, because the suggested recommendation, if you go through the report, our staff, Mr. Howard, is saying that he agrees with everything Mr. Volk is saying, and that, like, it says right here, consider the applicant's request to reconsider agricultural land as per the attached correspondence.
No, that's not what we're saying.
Through to
Yeah, go ahead, Mr. Howard.
Through to Councillor Berger, I believe what Councillor Pearson was trying to say is the recommendations that came through from staff the way they were was because of the offerance of the applicant's agent. But if through dialogue with the applicant's agent there was a way to reduce further or consequently remove the covenant, that would be all right as well. But to deal with the applicant on those bases.
That was my understanding.
Yeah, I just, right now I have a problem. It's either one or the other, and I'll allow one more opportunity for the applicant to speak to it. Could you please turn on your mic? Thank you. Because I just have a concern. It's either amend the covenant or it's to remove it. Okay, go ahead.
So my motivation here is simply to help my clients out on this particular property. I'm simply acting as a realtor, and I'm just doing this as just something to do. And the amount of money that they've spent and lost it's ridiculous. Like it's kind of a sad case for them. They've been taken to the cleaners. Now they have to pay for all the fees associated with these amendments, and then all of a sudden if they have to go and refile covenants and everything else, it's just more money after more money. These aren't very sophisticated people. So my suggestion is simply, why don't you consider instructing Mr. Howlett and staff to just simply make a condition of the DP that in this property that they put up a hedge and a chain link fence, and it's over. Thank you very much.
Okay. I thought that's what my motion was to remove the covenants, but at building permit stage, I don't know where we do it at DP to make it a part of the DP. I'm trying to think.
I'm not sure.
Go ahead.
Through to Councillor Pearson, I'm not sure if we can do that with regards to the DP because I'm not too sure if there's a DP required. I can't remember the file that intimately, and if there was a DP, I'm not sure that it would be for that type of issue. But we can certainly work with the agent to come up with something that would, in my mind, would be reasonable and cost effective for the developer.
Are you okay with that?
Yeah. And thank you very much. Simply hiring lawyers, rewriting covenants, filing covenants, right, it never ends. It costs a fortune. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Oh, sorry, Brenda, go ahead. Councillor Parkinson.
I would just like the recommendation to be read back so we know what we're voting on, please.
I honestly don't know at this point.
Go again, Councillor.
Okay. Do you want me to rephrase
That would be
it? How's
great,
that?
thank you.
My motion is to direct staff to work with the applicant in removing the covenants off the property as it exists, and to come up with a suitable arrangement on a buffer between properties. And when I say buffer, I mean a barrier visible. That's it.
Is there a seconder? Is seconder?
Second, and then a quick question.
Okay.
Just to Mr. Howard, are we comfortable with that recommendation?
Yes. One thing I might want to point out, though, is through this, that because the covenant was put on or placed on during the time as a condition of rezoning, there will be a public hearing required, and that public hearing will have to be paid for. It's in the staff report, so it will be an application fee, even if the covenant was to be removed in its entirety after we agree to whatever it is we agree to with the applicant's agent. There will be a requirement for that hearing to have the covenant removed.
Okay, is everybody, yes, Councillor Ray?
Yeah, sorry. I guess there's just a lot of questions here, and I find it interesting that this all happened in 2010 when our bylaw the rezoning bylaw occurred as a whole document. And so in terms of any type of further public hearing, is there the ability to waive that should council decide? Can you waive it? I see Ms. Sorry. The decision, sorry, shaking her head, so I assume my answer is no.
The fact that it was put on at the bequest of council at the time of rezoning, and it went through public hearing with the intention of that covenant beyond, I'm not aware of any mechanism that would allow this to go forward without another public hearing.
Okay,
unless,
thank you.
Unless Mr. Joseph can weave his magic and figure out a way to do it.
I just wanted to know if it was an option, that was all.
Thank you. So any more discussion on the motion? I'm going to call the question. All those in favor? Opposed? Very good. You got direction. Thank you. Okay, the next item is RE3, and that's non-farm use in the agricultural land reserve, and that's at 6038 Souk Road. Yeah, could I get or is staff going to give us a subsequent report, or do you want a motion to have a public hearing? Because that's not in here right now.
No, it was tonight. The achievement tonight was just get direction.
Oh, I see. And you're going to come back again?
Staff will come back with a further report, and from that, I would suspect that the follow-up for the public hearing would come through.
Okay, very good. Great. So now we're dealing with 6038 Souk Road, correct? Yes. I was going to get a staff report first, and then the applicant can speak to it. Okay? How's that? So you're just jumping the gun, but that's good. That shows eagerness. Okay, go ahead. Do you want to do that too? Go ahead, Rob.
Thank you, Councillor, Acting Mayor Casper, through to the councillors. I'm just going to read the executive summary, and then because the applicant is here, between the two of us, we should be able to answer, I hope, all the questions that you may have. The district has received an agricultural land, quote, ALR application for a non-farm use to create a child care facility at 6038 Souk Road to accommodate up to 60 children. The property is approximately 1 hectare in size and is situated next to Cicinos Elementary. The applicant, Steps to the Future Child Care Society, has operated in Souk for many years in various locations. The applicant is looking at creating a forever home for their before and after school care program and preschool programs. Currently, the site is not zoned for a daycare. However, the applicant is asking that council consider forwarding this application for a non-farm use agricultural land commission to the Agricultural Land Commission, for their decision. If the Land Commission supports this proposal, the applicant will then need to apply to the district to the change in zoning. The district has received referral from the Agricultural Land Commission for a non-farm use on the ALR land. The ALC asks that municipalities provide an input on whether the request is supportable and consistent with local bylaws. The non-farm use is to allow a community care facility for the purpose of a before and after school care and preschool to allow upwards of 60 children. The property is located at 6038 Sooke Road, as stated before. It's about 1 hectare, 2.5 acres in size, and is legally described at Lot A, Section 7 and 11, Sooke District Plan 31841. The property is split designated agricultural and gateway residential by the official community plan. It is also split zone small agricultural, RU3, rural residential, RU4. Along the same split, half the property is in the ALR, half is outside the ALR. There are currently 2 dwellings on the property, both of which are located on the ALR portion of the property. The intent is that children will be located in 2 of the existing dwellings, which will be converted into suitable space for community care facility and modified as needed to meet the building code and fire safety requirements. The facility will be licensed by the Vancouver Island Health Authority. There is direct access onto Sooke Road, although the MOT is making recommendations of alternate access, but we can work with them if this is going to proceed. Typically, non-farm use applications come to the district with a proposal that meets the zoning. In this case, the proposal does not currently conform to the existing zoning. Being a non-profit society, the applicant would like to first determine whether a non-farm use would be accepted by the ALC before making a non-refundable rezoning application to the district. And I'll leave it at that. I'll take questions, and then the applicant can answer any questions as she can.
Councillor Pearson?
I'm asking a lot of questions tonight. So how do we end? My first question is, how do we end up with properties like this, which are cut halfway like that? Anyways, we all know that. No, I think my opinion is it's a good application, and it's situated right next to a school. So I think it's a pretty cool application. So I'll be supporting that.
Anybody else? Questions of staff? Okay, great. Applicant, please name.
My name is Hi, my name is Christine McGinnis, and I'm the Society Coordinator for Steps of the Future Child Care Society. I would also like to say that Maria Gatman and Rosemary Simonton, the property owners, are here as well as all our families and our board of directors with their children came tonight to support and show their concern. So we've been moved around and begging school district to keep us for at least 10 years. And as I've given in our package, we have our final notice from the school district. So ideally, it's wonderful to be in the classrooms and sharing space in the schools. Kids walk down the hall safely. Some transportation is being done. And being able to use those big, giant school playgrounds and also the gym on the really terrible days. That's why this property has been really ideal for us. It's right beside the school, so very little transportation is necessary. And we have to provide 7 meters squared space outside for children. So we're looking at least 60 children, and this property is quite ideal for us. We have put an application in to the Vancouver Island Health Authority, just to get an idea of whether they would approve the property and the buildings themselves. So I do have pictures. I don't know if you're interested in looking at pictures of the actual buildings. It doesn't show the property, but lots of green space. It's got a nice full circular driveway for in and out drop-off and pickup. Our drop-off and pickup is 6:15 in the morning, so it hasn't been a problem with any of the schools that we've been located in as far as getting back onto the road and out into the world they have to work in. And also, we've approached so many different organizations in the past since we've been getting moved out of the schools. We approached the Lions. We were offered an admin building through William Head Prison, had an old administrative building they were going to give us. We had Butler Brothers come look at it. And so we were looking at asking the Lions if we could use the Murray Road park area that they've got, and that didn't work out for them. They didn't want anything to do with an old building. So we have a file very thick of places that we've looked at in Souk. In the application, are there areas in this community that would suit our needs better? And there really isn't. We've been doing this for 3 years now, looking for something, because we knew eventually the schools would be full registration and no room for us. So also, the Ministry of Children and Families has been offering millions of dollars for new childcare spaces, and so for the last 3 years they've been offering this kind of money. We've applied, and we will have an answer mid-April, and it's up to $500,000. Again, 90% of a budget would be covered through that grant if it was on school district property. So we asked school district if we could put on portables onto the property, and they said they were not interested in us putting permanent fixtures on their land. So again, that was a no. However, we still do have the money application going forward, and hopefully if we get this approved, we can put a really sizable down payment on the property. The Simontons have already, and the Gatmans have already moved, purchased other land, so would like to have this over and done with. Although they have offered to do a rent-to-own with us, or agreed to do a rent-to-own, which is the first time we've ever had that opportunity. So that's really exciting for us if we do not get that grant. But I see that that would work really well because we've already got a lot of the steps done. We've already had an environmental study on the property. There are 3 septic tanks. It's already been approved. There's only one small main line that needs to be repaired, and that's about $4,000. So we've already been through that, and we have to have that piece before we even get our license through VHA. And we also have to have fire inspection done. So I have talked to the fire department about that already, and we are understanding if it's a certain amount of people that we would have to get a sprinkler system. So we are aware of all the things that we need to do to move forward. So
questions of council members now. Yes, so Pearson, then Logans, and then Parkinson.
Christina, thank you for your presentation. I don't have any questions for you. I was just going to move that council forward the request for a non-farm use for a community care facility on the application.
I second that.
Let's move in second. Any comments? No, it doesn't look like any. My only question, I guess, and it's something that perhaps we can think about, and that's the issue of the zoning. I'm inclined to believe philosophically that community care uses, community care facilities should actually be located or allowed to be located on any land within our district. But if our zoning bylaw prohibits that, then I think personally we have a mistake in our zoning bylaw. But that's just my humble opinion for what it's worth. So I want to thank you and congratulate you on your efforts, and you know, our fingers are all crossed.
Okay, so where are we at right now, then?
Well,
thank you.
Just,
I have a question.
I know you're eager. You were first at the table, so what will happen, and staff can correct me, is that our endorsation or support will then go to the Land Commission. Correct, Mr. Hunt?
We will forward the application to the Land Commission with the wording that council has just determined. Supporting it.
Okay, the non-farm use on this property.
Fantastic.
So that's what will happen. Yes, Councillor Bird.
Yeah, I just have one quick question. Did when you spoke to the ALC, did they give you any comfort that maybe, because I've heard that they can take a long time, but
that's our huge fear, because this is already taken, because we were already applying in October for this, and then the application went to online, so we couldn't even, we had a check in our hand here at the office, and that delayed quite a bit. So I don't know, that was my question once we got an answer here and approval, is if there's any way to ask for a timely review and proposal to the decision, because we're out in the summer.
Yeah, what's unfortunate is that, I mean, I don't believe all the ones that I've been involved in, I don't believe municipalities actually have a whole lot of pull with the ALC, which is unfortunate. But I just looked up their non-farming uses and regulations for ALR online, and you're in a weird gray area because you're allowed education and research, but not a school. You're allowed pet kenneling and pet breeding. So it's, I mean, it's interesting to me that when you look at what the uses are, I mean, I would hope that, I mean, in reading these, I would think that it sounds like a great fit. The property sounds like a great fit. You're next to a school. It's a lovely piece of property. I mean, I wholeheartedly support us giving as much support as we can. The only downfall that is I know that they can take some time. So I hope that that works in your favor.
Councillor Ray.
Thank you. And just to add to Councillor Berger's comment, even if the letter could recognize that the pressures that the District of Sauk for childcare and the phenomenal growth that we've seen in the school here in the past year specifically, which is part of the reason that you're being displaced, be highlighted in the letter that goes to the ALC and ask for see if we can get it done in a timely manner.
So as staff made note, staff understands the note, so is it, does mover and seconder agree to that being included in the letter? Sure. Okay, great, by consensus. Could I call a question then? All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. All right, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Next item is RA-4, recommendations from the Climate Change Action Committee, and there's a March 17th, 2016 meeting, and there's a report and a recommendation. So who's going to handle this one? Staff? So there's a motion here, and it says that council directs staff to investigate opportunities for local yard waste composting facilities and or programs. Well, go ahead. Councillor Logans.
So our climate committee was looking at some different options for taking action that are the kind of low-hanging fruit. This one, it seems a bit complex, but we just wanted to give staff the opportunity to look at options and see what kind of possibilities are out there. Essentially, the committee agreed that growing food locally will help to mitigate some issues with climate change. So we wanted to look at composting facilities, see what kind of composting programs could be developed. There are other communities that do have successful composting programs and actually make money as a district off of those composting programs. So if we can find a way to do that really easily, then that could be good for our community and good for our environment. So staff seem to have some ideas on where this could go, and just wanted the okay to go ahead and look at those ideas.
Okay, any questions or comments? Councillor Pearson.
Thanks, Councillor Logans, for that little update. I support this, and I think that it's if we can get into somehow some creative ideas, maybe there's, because I know other municipalities make money selling their topsoil and yard waste and garden fertilizer and things like that. So, no, good idea. So
anybody else have a comment? So I just, my comment is that Okay, so we have a lot of maple leaves where we live, and so I, rake them all up and put them in bags so that it's a mulch for all my gardens, so I don't burn my leaves. Others may choose to do that, and that's their personal choice. But maybe if some food for thought here is perhaps some helpful ideas or hints on what one can do as far as their yard waste is concerned, and mulching is one, and there's all kinds of things. So I just throw that as an option. I'm not going to push my personal views, but I just said it online. So anyway, yeah, so I just did. And please don't fault me for that. So are you prepared to make a motion? Did you make a motion? Was there a mover and seconder?
No, I was going to make a motion. I don't know, Councillor. It's your...
Go ahead, Councillor Logan.
Yeah, I'll make the motion.
Very good. Go ahead. Move it.
Second.
All right, and
The motion is to direct staff
to investigate opportunities for local yard waste composting facilities and or programs, correct?
Second.
Yes, correct. I'll move that motion.
And it's been second. Yes, Ms. Sullivan.
Thank you, through the chair, to Councillor Logans. Can you be specific in what staff in particular are interested in moving this forward so I know where to delegate this?
I believe that it was brought up by Ms. Lecition. She's not here, no.
Councillor
Catherine?
Logans, if I can help you, it's probably a planning issue.
Planning, because she was relating it to our agricultural plan. And I believe that's how it would fit in, so through the agricultural plan.
Thank you.
We get sorted out, correct? Okay, very good. Call the question. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Okay, our next item of business is, we've got here the climate action. Yes, we've got reports for information and consideration. We have the RCMP report was done. We have mayor and council reports. So how about I start on my extreme right and work around, if that's okay? Councillor Parkinson? Okay, Councillor Logans? I'll go to my extreme left. Councillor Berger?
The only thing I was going to report was the dates of the, sorry, I'm just looking at, I'll stop. Just looking online for the dates. They've been released as to when CPark is going to be doing information sessions. And so there'll be an information session regarding the referendum. The referendum is going to be held April 30th at CPark itself. And Otter Point will have an info session, Esouk, Port Renfrew, I believe, I thought there's one more in the CRD. Sorry, and then there's one as well in Souk, and I'll get the date for you as other people are talking.
Councillor Ray?
I don't have anything to report. Thanks.
Councillor Pearson?
Nothing to report tonight.
Okay. Fair enough. So I'd just like to report, just to reiterate what Council's been doing in the past month. We've almost completed our budget deliberations, and we're just waiting for the report to come forward through our CAO on the recommendations from the Fire Commission. It looks like our anticipated tax increase for this year is 0.85%. Is that correct? I got that one right. Good. I get a star for that. And I just want to thank staff and all council members for their active participation in that process. I have some information here relates to the CRD, and tomorrow the CRD will be approving or dealing with its annual budget. I have a printout for all the council members to have, and it looks like they are anticipating for Souk a 2.73% increase over what it was last year. At least that's the indication that I've got. Total Capital Regional District percent change, and that applies to us. Some other jurisdictions, believe it or not, other municipalities have have different rates of increase. That's dependent on their assessment values and also the different types of programs that they participate in. I've noted some are as high as 4.3%. Some are a little bit lower than us. So I'll hand this out for all the members. And I don't think I have any more to add to that. So our next item of business then is going to be a CAO verbal update. Do you have anything to report? Thank you. Ms. Sullivan?
Thank you, through the chair. Just one quick thing with respect to an incident that happened in our parking lot last week. I've instructed staff to take a look at improving lighting in our parking lot. Okay. And so we will be investigating various options to make sure that the safety of both staff and council are taken into consideration.
Well, that's good. You know, like I've noticed over the years that the lighting is or could be viewed as poor. There is a tree there that seems to be blocking lighting, and I'm all for having trees, but at the same time, if it blocks lighting, and that's for a lot of people in this community, and also some of our park users that may come up there when it's closer to dusk.
Not at this point.
Okay. Our next item of business then is a new business, and that's the sewer report. Okay, we're going to go to deal with that. And Councillor Pearson.
Well, okay, so I was going to say, do you want to take it out of order and go down and do the other stuff first? Finish off with that?
Okay, well, let's do that then for the benefit of Councillor Pearson. Sorry about that. So let's go to the council reader file, and that's for March 2016. Motion to receive. And any questions, comments? Hearing none, call the question. All those in favor? Opposed, carried. Next item is correspondence dated March 18th and 2016 from Sauk Regional Chamber of Commerce. Supports the Sea Park land purchase. It's just moved, seconded. Question. All those in favor? Opposed, carried. Okay, now we're going to go to new business, and that's NB1.
So,
Councillor Pearson.
So, to the chair, I have a personal conflict. So I'll be excusing myself from meeting. As everyone is aware, my brother works for EPCOR, so I think it's appropriate that I step out.
Okay, great.
And I'll see you at the next meeting.
Okay, thank you.
No. Is it okay? Is it?
No, there's no more discussions.
Okay, no. So I don't have to hang around for the adjournment? Is that what I'm done? Thank you. Thank you. Good night, everyone.
Okay, Ms. Sullivan, you're going to lead off on this report?
Yes, I am, and I would like to ask Mayor and Council to go to page 3 and focus on the findings section of this report. It's a very important timeline and background with respect to how we got to where we are today. I'd like to impress upon Mayor and Council that this matter has become an urgent nature. With respect to the timing of the notice we have to give to EPCOR. We have to provide notice as of March 29th, which is this evening. And it's largely as a result of a previous direction that Mayor and Council gave to staff in 2015 that was not followed up on. And that direction to staff was to do an in-depth analysis of the cost-benefit of keeping our agreement with EPCOR or not. As well, there was supposed to be a committee of the whole meeting scheduled in September 2015 to allow for public input. That meeting did not occur. So when I first started as the CAO in December of 2015, acting mayor at the time and council provided me with direction to make this a priority. So that's what I've done. Working closely with the Director of Development Services and Director of Finance. We've come down with some findings that I think are very important for Mayor and Council to consider. One of which is there is no additional risk to the District of Sauk by taking over the contracted services we have right now with EPCOR. We are covered by the Municipal Insurance Agency, or Association, I should say, and we have been we have had a confirmation of that legally. there's really no benefit to the District of Sault to continue because we are going to be able to realize, I will say, potentially substantive savings over the course of 5 years. We calculate approximately $225,000 can be saved, and it could even go up from that because what we did include in our cost calculations was a full-time management position, and we're not certain that we actually need a full-time management position. Currently, the management position is shared between 3 different sites on Vancouver Island, and staff think that we could make do with a part-time or a third-time management position. This is all part of a review that I've been asked to do on a lot of our service agreements with various contractors in and across the district. This, of course, is the most substantive and is the most timely one. The next one we'll be going through is probably our main road contract to take a look at value for services there, and we'll also be taking a look at our parks. I think I'll leave it at that, and if you have any questions with respect to the report or how we got where we're at, I'm happy to answer them.
Questions or comments from council members? Councillor Ray.
Yes, and I'm mindful that this matter is being webcasted, and so I just want to make sure that G and I, in terms of this document, G being that there are no opportunities to tender a request for proposals, as the District of Sault must provide non-renewal notice to EPCOR 6 months in advance of the end date, which is, as Ms. Sullivan has indicated, is the 29th of March, 2016. And I think, as well, very importantly, that the District of Sault cannot renew its current contractual arrangement with EPCOR unless we go and gain voter approval, which would be costly to the District of Sault. So I think it's important that that be on the record.
Are there any other questions or comments? Councillor Parkinson?
I was just wondering, should we go it alone? What will be the process be to expand the sewer system in the future?
Staff?
That would likely be a contracted service. We'd be working closely with the manager and the manager's expertise with respect to how we go about expanding that service.
I just before that, just to clarify that currently, if there is an expansion done or proposed expansion, it would follow a similar process that it would go out to tender to the private sector to actually do construction on our sewer lines like it was done before, correct?
Correct.
Okay, all right, okay. Yes, Councillor Logans and then Councillor Berger.
We heard tonight from staff during a presentation that the capacity for the sewer was I guess, managed by an engineering firm. Would that remain the same, or is that part of the EPCOR contract as well?
Go ahead.
The contract we have is currently with Stantec. They were the design engineering firm to begin with, and they are under contract with us to evaluate services as they're applied for, and they keep track of all the modeling and any additional services that are requested. And to make a long story short, yes, they would well, at this point in time, they would be retained as our go-to engineering firm.
If I may, there seems to be some concern with respect to the capacity in our system. And when Acting Mayor Casper and I went down to the site to do a tour, we were informed that we do have plenty of capacity, and it may not even be that we have to expand in 2020. It just depends on how many new homes, SFEs, come on board between now and then. So we do have lots of capacity.
Councillor Parkinson.
It would be good to know what lots of capacity means, because we have turned people away from hooking into the sewer system for not knowing this information. So I think it would be advantageous to know what, are we at half capacity, or?
We, if I may, through the chair, we have capacity, and I have to confirm this number tomorrow, but I believe it's about 2,400 extra SFEs.
Councillor Berger and then Councillor Ray.
Yes, thank you. This was a topic that I've been asking for years, because watching the escalating costs that we've been paying for just operation and maintenance, and I think for some historical point of view, because we own the entire system and we own all the pipe in the ground, we've paid for everything thus far anyhow. Any repairs that need to be done, the District of Sauk has billed for and paid for. Any upgrades need to be done, the District of Sauk has built and paid for. We've just used EPCOR as our manager. So they manage and operate. And one of the items that was always brought up was that we're not in the sewer business. Well, we hire those people. EPCOR got into the sewer business because they hired qualified people. So the question that I've been putting to staff for years is that we ourselves, because we own the utility and we service the debt for it, shouldn't we have a hired professional within our own staff that can manage the system rather than sending millions of dollars back to Edmonton? So for me, I'm very pleased that this has come forward, because I've watched those, in my 6th or 7th year being here, the price in operating and maintenance has gone extremely high. And the element of risk has always been on the back of the District of Sauk, because we own all the infrastructure. So it makes sense to me that if we own the infrastructure, we there hire qualified people to maintain it.
Councillor Ray.
I'm going to move the recommendation as it's outlined, that Council directs staff to provide notice to EPCOR that the District of Sauk will not seek renewal of its operational contract for the wastewater system, take the necessary steps to manage the wastewater handback from EPCOR as outlined in the legal opinion received March 26, 2016, and provide monthly progress reports to Council on the handback process until completed.
So it's moved and second. Is there any further discussion? So I just want to say for clarification, the anticipated annual savings at a minimum would be $225,000 per year, correct? And over a 5-year period, that would be $1.2 million, correct? Or is it less than that? 1.12?
1.12.
Yeah, okay, $1.12 million. There is no additional risk to the district, as the district is the holder of all permits and regulatory authority has been granted to the district. And, this is no reflection on the work that EPCOR has done. It's timely that as things have proceeded over a 10-year period, that it's the proper move. This isn't something new that's happened just for Sauk. Port Hardy went through a similar transition with the private contractor and took over their services, and a similar situation is in the process or has completed in White Rock. So anyway, I think it's an important step, and I trust that staff will make sure that EPCOR is notified immediately as required in the contract, and that we embark on a very smooth transition. And I look forward to the challenge, and I think that we can meet it. So, yes, Councillor Ray?
Yes, I'd just like to thank Ms. Sullivan and her team. I think there's been a lot of work put into reviewing this contract and coming together with all of the numbers and the analysis in terms of the costs and the savings. So just thank you for a great job.
Okay, I'll call the question. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried unanimously. Thank you very much. There's no other business tonight?
There is no other business tonight.
Okay, could I get a motion to adjourn? Thank you very much.